It was 7:15 p.m. in downtown Atlanta. The glow of streetlights bathed the sidewalks, and inside a small Italian restaurant, a man sat quietly at a corner table. His name was David Martinez, 28 years old, a freelance software engineer, a dreamer trying to build his own business. And tonight, he had only $5 in his pocket. He wasn't here for business. He wasn't here for networking. He was here for something much simpler, a blind date. For 20 minutes, David had waited. He checked his phone again, the screen lighting up with a message. "Did you really show up?" His stomach tightened, not just from hunger, but from something much heavier. That old familiar feeling of not belonging, of being judged before he even had a chance to prove himself. Jessica. That was her name. The woman he was supposed to meet. Her next message arrived. "I thought you'd be more. I don't know, different. I can't do this. You seem nice, but my parents would freak out if they knew I was dating someone like you." David slipped his phone into the pocket of the only blazer he owned, a thrift store find, ironed 3 times that afternoon. His shoulders stayed firm. His hands didn't tremble. He had learned long ago how to take a blow without showing the pain. But tonight was different. He had spent half his money just to get here by bus. And now, sitting alone, every glance from other diners felt like a spotlight on his rejection. The waiter ignored him longer than anyone else. The hostess had asked twice if his reservation was even real. And at the next table, a woman watched. She was in her mid-30s, elegantly dressed, with long dark hair pulled into a neat bun. Across from her sat a little girl of about 7, carefully twirling pasta with the clumsy precision only children have. Her name was Camila Rodriguez. And in that moment, she was not just a successful CEO of a $50 million startup. She was a mother. And she understood. When her daughter whispered, "Mom, why is that man alone?" Camila's eyes flicked toward David. For a brief second, their eyes met. And what David saw wasn't pity. It was recognition. The kind only 2 people who had carried invisible burdens could understand. David opened his wallet. Inside, 5 crumpled dollars and a few coins. Enough for a soda. Maybe an appetizer. His date was gone, but he couldn't even afford to stay. Meanwhile, Jessica was not far away. She had arrived earlier, parked across the street. But instead of meeting him, she sat in her car, taking pictures of David walking into the restaurant, sending them to her friends, laughing. "Guys, you won't believe this. The guy doesn't look like his photos. Imagine me walking in there and being seen with him. No way." It wasn't just rejection. It was cruelty, humiliation, messages designed to make sure David never had the courage to try again. But inside the restaurant, as David stood, placing $2 on the table for the glass of water, he had finished, Camila noticed. Even broke, even humiliated, he still left a tip. Dignity intact. As he walked past her table, she spoke. Softly. "Excuse me." David froze. Rarely had a well-dressed woman, much less one who looked like she belonged in another world entirely, spoken to him so kindly. "You forgot this," Camila said, slipping a folded napkin into his hand. Confused, he nodded politely and left. But outside, on the sidewalk under the dim streetlight, David unfolded it. It wasn't just a napkin. It was a business card. Gold letters. A name. Camila Rodriguez, CEO, Innovatech Solutions. And beneath it, in handwriting, "People who keep their manners even when hurt are rare. You impressed more people today than you realize." That night, while Jessica sat laughing with friends in Buckhead, turning David's photos into cruel memes, Camila was already drafting an email to her team. Because she had seen something Jessica never would. She had seen herself, 15 years ago, a single Hispanic mother, rejected from job after job because she didn't fit the corporate image, overlooked, underestimated, until she built her own empire. And now, she saw the same resilience in David. At 2 a.m., David sat at his small desk in his East Atlanta apartment. He should have been coding. Deadlines loomed. But his eyes kept drifting back to the card. Camila Rodriguez, a woman who had turned her scars into strength, a leader who built her company by giving opportunities to those whom the world had overlooked. Was it possible that tonight, his worst humiliation might be the beginning of something else? The next morning, at the gym, fate intervened again. David was running on a treadmill, headphones in, lost in thought, when a familiar voice spoke beside him. "You're a morning person. Good to know." It was Camila. And this time, she didn't just offer him a card. She offered him something far greater, a partnership. Not charity, not pity, but recognition. "David," she said, "with your talent, why are you still working alone? You could be building systems that change lives. Not just apps for local clients, real projects. Big projects. The kind that prove diversity isn't just right. It's smart." For the first time in years, David didn't feel like he was begging for a chance. He was being invited into a vision. And as for Jessica, her cruel photos, her careless words, the ridicule she thought was harmless fun, they would come back to haunt her. Because Camila wasn't just a CEO. She was a strategist. And she knew how to turn humiliation into evidence, cruelty into justice. David didn't know it yet, but the war Jessica had started. Camila was already 3 steps ahead. And what began as a $5 blind date would soon become one of the most powerful partnerships in the tech world. A narrator's closing line. Sometimes, the encounters that never happen are the ones that change everything.